My strange and unexpected career as a mingling expert started one day long ago in 1987 at a wedding in Dayton, Ohio. I had gone for a weekend wedding of my college friend, and all my college friends were there. And after the wedding, we were talking about the reception, and everyone came up to me and said, "Jeanne, you met the entire town of Dayton, Ohio. We just talked to each other. How is that possible?" And it was at that moment that I realized how much I loved talking to strangers, and also that I had a knack for it, that I was good at it. I didn't realize it before then, but I was actually using some of these mingling techniques and even some of the memorized lines from the time I was 12 years old, and I had read these books that I loved, this series of very silly, really dated books from about a debutante in Philadelphia. The first one was called Men Are Like Streetcars. And these books were filled with the tales of this 16-year-old, spunky girl who learned by what to say, how to become popular and, get boyfriends and everything. And I basically memorized all of these books. The love of going to parties was instilled in me there at an early age, not just by that and by my natural tendencies. I mean, I am someone who, I think no matter what, when I enter a room full of strangers, I see it as a big table full of food, of delicious food that I can taste from. But I also have to attribute my mother. My mother, who was not popular when she was a girl, I could tell at a certain point she was pushing me, because she really wanted me to be popular. And I remember even one occasion, which I didn't realize was so odd until I started telling it to other people, when I was very sick and I had a fever, but Bert Rogers had invited me to the Valentine's Day dance. And so she gave me some Sudafed, I got out of bed, she got me dressed, and I went to that party. And I danced the night away. I came home and was sick for 3 days. And so anyway, that day back in 1987 in Dayton, Ohio, when my friends were all teasing me, I wrote down the names of these mingling techniques on a cocktail napkin, which is a great place, by the way, for anybody to start a book. That, in fact, became The Art of Mingling. In 1992, the first edition of The Art of Mingling was published. I was paid, I had no idea. To me, it was just I'll write this book. They paid me a very small advance. I thought it would be a very small part of my career. But even before the book was published, the first thing that happened was I was invited to be on the Today Show, which, believe me, at the state of my life was a very exciting thing, live in front of 20 million people. At the time that I was on the Today Show, I had never even conceived of anything like that. I was living in a tenement apartment with a bathtub in the kitchen. I was working as a freelance editor, didn't have that much money. And I remember looking at the television set that was on top of the refrigerator, a little tiny black and white TV set. And I had no hot water that morning, which always happened in that tenement apartment. And I had to boil water in order to fill up my bathtub to take a bath to actually go on the Today Show. And as I was doing that, I was hearing them announcing, later in our show, we're going to have Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman, and Jeanne Martinet. The whole thing was just so surreal. At the time, I just wanted to be a writer, and I thought The Art of Mingling was a good topic to write about. But then it wasn't until the book became such a success and people responded to it so much that I realized I had tapped into something big. And so with your indulgence, the truth is that mingling is its own reward. All of us have a deep desire for human connection. Conversation is one of life's greatest pleasures. The more people you meet and connect with, the more potential you have for happiness. Mingling can actually feed your spirit. In other words, the more you mingle, the better your life will be. The warm, communal feeling you will experience when you leave a party after meeting and enjoying new people will spread to the rest of your life and enrich it. And trust me, if you become less socially fearful, you will be less fearful in other areas of your life, in your business life, in your relationships. The art of mingling may not be the answer to everything, but it is an important part of living a full and rewarding life. I don't know how much. Do we have one more time for me to answer this? Because I have.
It's going to be the final question.
Okay. You just brought up something that's important. She said the British do not like people to ask you what their job is, and which is an interesting cultural thing. But it is one of my most important tips in the book. Is at a party, even in America, everybody makes the mistake when because they can't think of anything to say, of asking people what they do for a living as their first line, and it's a mistake to do that because it's too intrusive. You don't know what subject you're bringing up because they could have lost their job that day. They could do something that's really offensive to you. Whatever you have to have a few minutes of mingling before you go into the career thing. A little bit of more careful mingling, but it's all in the book. So.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, in that case, we're going to move to the signing. So let's give a big round of applause for Jeanne Martinet.
Thank you so much. Thank you.